I'm here contemplating on the Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic by Eliphas Levi, and I'm contemplating on the chapter on divination. And I'm not going to get too much into the chapter, but there are some sections that I have highlighted that I do not want to take up much of your time. I just want to address and I want to present my interpretation. So we will start with what it means to practice divination, or that is to divine, and that is to exercise divinity. That is the divine nature that each and every single one of us has been granted. Okay, remember, we all carry the divine breath. So this portion here on the essence of divination, that is to say the great magical arcanum, is represented in all the symbols of the science and is closely tied to the unique and primordial doctrine of Hermes. That is that when you practice divination, you are closely tied to the unique and primordial doctrine of Hermes. What is the primordial doctrine of Hermes? That is, as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven. That is, being able to interpret divine will over our individual lives. And I ask myself, why would I want someone else to interpret divine will over my life for me when I can be in direct contact with the divine? So that is a question, but let's see. So where I was here with the primordial doctrine of Hermes. So in philosophy, it provides absolute certitude. In religion, the universal secret of faith. In physics, the composition, the decomposition, the recomposition, the realization, and the adaptation of the philosophical mercury called azoth by the alchemists. In dynamics, it multiplies our strengths by those of perpetual motion. It is at once mystical, metaphysical, and material, with correspondences in effect across the three worlds. It obtains the mercy of God, the truth of science, and the gold of wealth, because metallurgical transmutation is both an allegory and a reality, as all adepts of the true science well know. So, in philosophy, it provides absolute certitude. In religion, the universal secret of faith. So, with divination, there is a need to have absolute certitude and faith in the messages that you are receiving. And I know sometimes it may happen that we don't want to see the message because the material nature becomes disconnected from the spiritual and wants to serve their personal desire. That is the material nature. So that is why it is essential to reinforce this practice, right? And in physics, the composition, the decomposition, the recomposition, the realization, and the adaptation of the philosophical mercury is that which unites the matter and the spirit. So we see here that in the physics, you have the composition, the decomposition, and the recomposition. So there are moments where, yes, there will be a disconnect. There are moments where, yes, things will, feel like you're not seeing the message, or maybe you don't see the message because of that disconnect. But it is a practice, and that is the practice of the metallurgical transmutation in being able to transform this material nature into the divine nature, which is our mission. That is our mission. And it is very hard, as we see, when it comes time to leave all of the material world behind and all of the material world behind. So it is something that it's constantly practiced on a moment by moment basis. And it is because of this practice of divination that we are able to, as we see here in dynamics, multiply our strengths by those of perpetual motion. That is because we are certain, because we have faith that we can do certain things, or that we can exercise certain abilities. It is because of our divinity, because of our divine nature, the essence that drives us, the motivation that propels us to fulfill those duties that we feel called to. Being in touch with your divine essence obtains the mercy of God, who is in heaven and we are on earth, and yet we practice divination to get in touch with God in heaven. Does God not know better our intentions? And yes, it will obtain the mercy of God because it is what is in the heart. What is this essence that we are working with? What is the nature of our intention? The truth of science is that it is because of divinity within us and because of the divine that we know science. All the discoveries of science that have been made have been inspired by the divine and the gold of wealth. So when I read wealth, I don't want to only say monetary wealth, but I want to say all of the abundance that is available to our material nature. That is the sanity of mind, the health that we possess, the blessings we can count, and personal dominion over our mind. Those are all the gifts of divination. So that's my interpretation on this little passage here, and I know maybe another day I'll look at it a different way, because that's happened to me before. When I read something, I interpret it, and then I come back later and I review it, and perhaps certain things have changed. So that is another thing about us and our nature, is that we are in constant states of composition, decomposition, and recomposition that lead to realization. So yes, hopefully this interpretation of mine was interesting, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you.